Roll call. Paletta.
Here.
Coburn.
Here.
Jeffries.
Here.
Colvick.
Here.
Light.
Here.
Ostermeyer.
Here.
Murphy.
Here. Section 2.04, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda with one amendment to section 6.03, our new hires, which we'll go over at the consent agenda time? Or do you want to name names now?
When we call that vote, let's amend that section, for that, but we are amending the agenda.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I get a motion?
I so move. Second.
Coburn.
Here. Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Colvick.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Paletta.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 3, item 3.01, closed session minutes. After reviewing the closed session minutes, the board will vote to approve the closed session minutes from June 25th, 2025 and July 14th of 2025. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes in closed session?
Motion to approve.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Colvick.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer. Paletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Item 3.02, termination of an employee. It is the recommendation of the administration to dismiss Ms. Kaylee Beck, paraprofessional, for violations of the Illinois state law and board policy. Can I get a motion to approve the termination of Ms. Kaylee Beck?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Colvick.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Paletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Moving on to section 4, communications, section 4.01, citizens' opportunity and for visitors to address the school board concerning any agenda topics. And I do not believe that we have anybody for the agenda topics. So we will move on to section 5, consent items. This is the section of which we approve all of these items, sections 5.01 through 5.08, including finance committee meetings, facilities and grounds, regular board minute meetings, treasurer report, school district, school activity, as well as FOIA requests. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items under section 5?
I so move. Jeffries.
Second. Coburn.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Paletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Colvick.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 6, personnel consent agenda items. This is the area of the agenda that we have amended. Specifically 6.03 for some new hires that we had that came on after the board agenda was published to the public. So I'll let Dr. Lehman go ahead and announce those 5 new hires.
So these additions will be added to the new hires section of the vote this evening. Sherry Cockrell as bus monitor and transportation at $15 an hour with 0 years of experience. Carmen Ortega, hiring as a paraprofessional at $19 an hour with 0 years of experience. Henry Roberts, a paraprofessional for the high school at $19 an hour with 0 years of experience. Richard Rosenow, a paraprofessional at the high school for $19 an hour, 0 years of experience. And Mona Simpson, a full-time cafeteria at the high school for $18.86 an hour with 6 years of experience.
So under the personnel consent agenda items, we will be approving the adoption of the personnel agenda items, resignations, new hires, retirements, transfers, leave of absences, our new administrator contracts for the 2025-26 year, renewal of our spring coaches contracts, and the renewal of our extracurricular contracts that are not included in athletics. Can I get a motion to approve section 6 for the personnel consent agenda items?
All motion. Ostermeyer.
Second. Below.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Paletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Colvick.
Yes.
Light. Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 7, new business, the approval of the threat assessment team.
So this is a annual, action that must be performed by the board. It is legislated by law that we have a school threat assessment team that instructs, how we do our threat assessment protocols, implement those procedures, review school and building emergency and crisis response teams, plans and protocols and procedures, and then assess the team to include mental health professionals as well as representatives from state, county, and local law enforcement. There's no change to, the team that we've had for a couple of years, to include Randy Allen, our Director of Safety and Security, myself, Allison Mann, Counselor at GMS, Kayla Hassel, Psychologist, Marnie Countryman, a social worker, and Vern Foley, the Chief of Chatham Police Department. This team has been instrumental in creating our 27 event crisis plan and outlining those details. And so this is just a legal step we have to take annually to get our approval to move forward with safety.
Any comments, concerns, questions at all? Looking at this and reviewing this, maybe make a recommendation to consider maybe amending this team to include our local fire chief. I mean, does that make sense to add that to our threat assessment?
These are the people by law that I have to have on the team, but
Okay.
we can invite whoever we would like. So we
Okay.
can, yeah, absolutely. I just need to have these particular positions named
Yeah.
in your approval, when I turn it over to SED.
That would be the only comment that I had, is just maybe to consider that. I mean, that would, yeah. So can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, Brett?
I'll second, Ostermeyer.
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries. Yes. Colvick,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 7.02, this is to approve the CES parking change order, and we have Mr. Mike Dobbs here to give us some information on it.
So I apologize, the last time I spoke to you folks, I thought that was my last board meeting. And this is my last one, hopefully, so I really should go well. So, if you haven't heard, the parking lot in front of Chatham Elementary School is an asphalt parking lot, and we were gonna mill 2 inches of that surface down and replace it with new asphalt. As we got our milling machines on there, we discovered that there was no subgrade whatsoever underneath it, and we had some machines starting to sink and some trails and stuff. There's no rock underneath it at all. We did have sampling done, had some core samples done. The one closest to the area of concern is on the south, like, if you know the parent pickup lane, when you turn left right there, we actually did a sample there and everything was good there. Parking lot itself was not sampled. So, we thought it was fine, but we just didn't know for sure. So, anyway, we were talking to the architect, Mr. Ben Doctor, who's here with us this evening, and we come up with 4 options. And so I'm gonna read these options off to you. The first option is concrete the east lot, and instead of asphalt, put concrete in there and leave the west lot project in place, which was gonna be done anyway, okay? And that cost us $408,749 and some change. The second option is asphalt the east lot, just like we were originally planning to do, and leave the west side project, the same as what the contract said, and that cost us $253,510 and some change. Option number 3 is, east lot, make the east lot concrete, the one we're having problems with, and just void the back parking lot altogether, but that's where the, special ed buses go. So I really don't wanna not do that project, so the option is to do the east lot in concrete and just forego the whole west lot. And that cost is $214,512 and some change. And option number 4 would be just to asphalt the east lot and remove the whole, asphalt the east lot and remove the whole west lot, and that cost us $59,273 and some change. Our recommendation as a district is option number 2, and, actually that number is $255,210.72. I apologize for that number. Along with that,
Can I stop you for just a second?
I'm sorry?
These prices are the overage amounts.
Correct, this is This is what we're asking the board to approve in addition to what the contract already was, so. Also, in addition to that, there's a sidewalk on the west lot that we'd like to get replaced, and that costs us $17,833. So the total amount of the change of the addition will be $273,043.72. That's our recommendations.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And this is something I just wanna ask the group in general is, we're looking at the difference of concrete versus asphalt, correct?
Yes.
For the long term. What is the difference in the long term from concrete work to like a asphalt? When do we actually, what is the recruit time?
Life expectancy?
Yes. On
And
something
I'll
like
let you
that.
answer that.
Sure, in terms of maintenance, concrete is a less maintenance, item, just holds up better over time. Nothing is no maintenance, but asphalt will have to be milled and repaved much sooner than your concrete lots would have to be dealt with in the future. And the thicker your concrete, the longer lasting it is, the heavier traffic that it can handle.
What is much sooner?
I couldn't
traffic
tell
and
you
all
an
that.
exact amount of time, but, the concrete would be expected to last probably a third of the time longer than asphalt roughly. The asphalt, again, the more traffic it has on it, the quicker it deteriorates. With it just being a parking lot, it shouldn't be deteriorating as much as some of your bus lane areas are. If it were bus lane, then we would definitely recommend that you go back with concrete.
Absolutely.
But asphalt for a parking lot for a school, should hold up well. It's just gonna be, you're gonna be dealing with it sooner than you would if it were concrete.
For the life expectancy of the concrete versus the asphalt, will we exceed cost of concrete initially, time we have to replace that lifetime of the concrete?
I haven't run a calculation, but if that's something you're interested in, we can do that for you.
That's just,
Cost would also.
So the
Yeah.
beauty of this is, this is parent pickup area. At one time it was the bus lanes, and now the bus lanes are on the south side of the school, and they are concrete. So that's the reason that the bus lanes moved over there, and it's all concrete over this. These lanes will never be used as a bus lane again, that I can ever, so it's basically parent pickup and teacher parking in the parking lot.
Out of the 4 options that you gave us, which ones provide us the most longevity?
We feel that option number 2, for $255,000.
Thank you.
what was that costing, 273 what, for your total project?
273,043.72.
For projects like this, you know, like we have our funds and everything for that, do we have, like, obviously do we have contingencies and all the emergency funds? Things in place, like the difference in the cost, because my whole thing is life expectancy, long-term stuff, we're going through a whole thing to update boilers and roofs and all that stuff, so long-term feasibility of our funds, does that make sense more than, and this is just an example, like if we have to go over, do we have funds, either finance through or things to go the better long-term route where you can, you know, potentially spread that cost over a couple of years versus all of one hit per se?
So all of these projects, well, not all of these projects, so if you'll recall, the middle school parking lot ended up coming in through that bond. So we were almost 100% covered on that project through our availability to leverage some extra money. And coincidentally, I just got our insurance report today, which flagged the middle school parking lot as a hazard, prior to it being, so that was a very wise choice and use of our money when we applied that to that project. So all of, the majority then of our remaining construction projects are coming through Fund 60 through our 1 cent county sales tax money. So while Wendy budgeted, that's not even a word. While Wendy budgets a certain amount, that fund is being replenished through sales tax every month. And our budget is our forecast to spend that money, but money is coming in the entire time under that budget. When our budget is not accurate, when our plan goes awry, that's when we do the amended budget to say that we had a need to spend additional funds. It's not that the funds don't exist, it's just we didn't account for it when we went forward. In this particular situation, because of the way that school financing works, and we start a school year without a budget in place, we have an opportunity to adjust the budget now and account for this situation in this year's budget, and potentially not have to amend at the end of the year by taking just more money out of Fund 60. The detriment of this is that when things cost more, when, I emergencies happen, it just pushes back some other project that we may not have the funding for at this moment, and it defers something else. I liken it to my house though, when I think I'm going to do a project and it's only going to cost me so much money, and I get into it and realize that I either didn't account right or I found something that I didn't realize was going on, it often escalates. And in this particular situation, because it was underground basically, we couldn't foresee this was going to happen.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, I think what the district and Mike's office as the facilities director has kind of identified with the school district in terms of its parking and its pickups and its transportation and all of its facilities is, if it's a bus lane, we're moving towards concrete.
Yes.
And if it's parking areas, we're still trying to maintain that
That's
through
right.
asphalt and paving. So
Correct.
I think they would probably just say that because this is an actual parking area, there will be no bus traffic on it. It really just wouldn't be, I don't know if it would be not fiscally responsible, but it's a little bit excessive to do it in concrete,
Oh, I
to look
agree.
at a parking area
Yeah,
that way,
absolutely.
so.
Absolutely.
And I was just wondering, like, time you have to replace it, if it's 5 years and this is going to last 20, you know, does it make sense more? But that makes sense, so that was just one question I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
My issue with it more so is that I would love for us to try to figure out, and we've talked about non-performance and other things like that, but to try to be able to figure out a way that through our bidding process, we can eliminate or minimize these change orders and surprises as much as possible. Cause when we do look at these bids, there could have been other bids that maybe have thought, hey, that may be an issue, so they bid a little bit higher or whatever else, or they wouldn't have come back. Well, it's not specific to this project, but just all of our projects, if there's any fail-safes that we could try to think of that prevent this, because to me, this is a little neglect from the contractor themselves. They didn't do the boring and putting of that in that area where they did test some of the other areas, you know, so I don't.
The people that do the boring is not the same, it's not the contractor. It's a totally separate company we have come in and do the boring samples before the contract's ever even bid out to.
Okay,
So we know what's there, otherwise, how do you write a scope of work if you don't know what's there?
so how do we miss this though?
Just, well, we sampled it, but we sampled it on the on the south side of the parking lot and not in the center of the parking lot. Now, since then, Ben and I have had conversation, so parking lot work going forward,
We'll have to
we're gonna definitely, check them
I
out.
guess that's the whole point, is just to try to learn from this, and so we can try to minimize, or at least know what our expense is going
So
forward.
as an example, so 5 or 6 years ago, we redid the one in front of GIS. We did exactly the same thing. We milled it down 2 inches, put new asphalt down, we're good as gold.
And nothing
Not a
happened.
problem in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, you assume, you know, that everything's good, but, you know, you do everything you can in the core samples. We can definitely get more core samples going forward, but it's just something we just didn't know.
Well, a few years ago, we had the same issue in the high school parking lot, because
Yeah,
we had to
right.
pay for the repair of the parking lot from the
Right,
fire.
because exactly the same thing
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
It's unfortunate when shortcuts have been taken in the past and we don't know about them, that we get stuck with footing the repair and the fix for them.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately is the situation where we're in. All of our recommendations though are to do it the right way moving forward, and so we don't leave this problem for someone else 30 years from now when they need it.
And so to talk about what you were talking about, so the next time we go through and ever have to replace that parking lot again over at Chatham Elementary, we for sure can mill it down 2 inches and come back with 2
That's where I was
inches.
coming out to the long term, because you've talked to us a lot about how things have gotten, they just neglect over the years and years and years. That's my big thing is, you know, we're wanting to invest money in the district for facilities, you know, but things we have to, I think this is a perfect example to make sure, even if it's cost a little bit more, I don't know what that number is, it's all, you know, changes, but that might be worth, you know, doing it for the long term. If you're, you know, 20 years out of it versus 10, and if it's, you know, small dollars, you get everything since turned to dollars, but that's just something I was gonna. The other question I had is on this, is it the same contractor that will be doing it? So does that process require to go out for, like, have they started the work on this?
Yeah.
Okay,
We
so
have an
we are,
exposed
gotcha, okay.
They're gonna start doing their grading work on Monday.
So you're kind of handcuffed in a
Yes.
sense with the same contractor per se, okay.
So I don't want anybody to misunderstand the magnitude of what we're thinking and talking about here. This is a $275,000 bid.
Understood.
Okay?
Understood.
So, one of the things I wanna communicate is don't miss again, okay? And the second piece is, once we are here now, we have to pick it, we have no choice. But now we wanna see, if we get the best quality. That's why I asked you about your recommendation as
Sure.
far as, fixing, because what we're gonna have to do is put something solid down by time, that's gonna give us longevity, so this was a hell of a boost,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
It really gets to me for the integrity of the bid process, right? Like, we've gotta make sure that that maintains, or otherwise everybody can come back and be like, oh, we missed that change order. So we told you it was gonna cost that, but it didn't. So if you get people that aren't being truthful or honest up front, and they're turning in the lower bid and getting it, and now change orders, I mean, this was clearly something we didn't know about, as opposed to, no, we gave you the scope of the work, and this is what it said, and now you're saying that you can't do it within that when we gave you the scope of the work, like material costs. That's, I'm just concerned that we don't open ourselves up to constant change orders, and really where then the bid's irrelevant at this point in time, and we can come back to that. So, I get that this was different, it's just kind of going forward, trying to make sure that I guess if we would have known that it would have been in the scope of what you're telling us, if we would have known the issues, it would have been in the scope of work, and then they would have bid it properly, and we wouldn't have had that at that point.
Very true, yeah.
Do we have just like with your retirement here, Jared come on, when Jared retires one day, when we go back and like look at all these things, just to make sure we have procedures or different things in place, kind of like Kelvin's point, I think a little bit is the bid process, or we ran into this situation, so somebody new comes in here years down the road and this comes up, is that we need to look at this, hopefully they'll be knowing what to do, but like learn from our mistake in a sense.
Sure.
Like notes.
Like notes, or like, I don't know how to describe it.
He
Yeah.
has an entire room of
Yeah.
all of them.
I'm sure we did, I just
I have,
asked.
yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Ryan,
So I
really,
have,
really quick, but I do wanna say that we did get 2 bids on this, and this was the lower one.
Yeah.
So, there was a secondary bid that came in that was higher.
Yeah, and probably more than likely, they did it again based on the scope of work, so they were just hire to hire. They didn't say, oh, we think this might be an issue, so that we're taking this into consideration when we bid this higher, because we thought, hey, maybe we might run into this. I don't think that was the case, but.
yeah, nobody would have known this. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you actually core sampled in the middle of that parking lot, nobody would have ever known this
Yeah.
at all. You could drive a semi truck across that lot and it may not sink, and because some areas there were 5 inches asphalt,
Oh, wow.
and other areas there were 3 inches asphalt. So how do you just don't know that?
Yeah, sure.
Without
The
core
construction-
drilling,
the
so.
The construction has changed over the years too.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
when I was told that when the parking lots were put in, that was over corn stubble
Yeah, it was put on black dirt.
and they would just treat it, and then you just basically put the asphalt down there. When
That's
they
just
found
the way-
over the years that just
That was
doesn't.
the standard back then.
And where our core samples were taken was originally a gravel lane. So
Correct.
when that was resurfaced, that part had a snow base. And then the other parts was a baseball field and a cornfield.
Yeah, so really, the only thing we could have done differently would have been asked the guy that does the cores, the separate contractor that does the core samples, is to, check, every 50 feet or whatever, the size of the parking lot. That's the only thing that would have changed this.
Yeah, and we're not gonna deliver this anymore, because I think at this point, we all know that we need to do it and get it corrected and things like that, so. Just didn't want the public to think that we were glossing over spending another $250,000 on something, so.
It was truly unknown. There's no interval we were known.
Yeah, and it was in bad shape to begin
It
with.
was in horrible shape.
Can I get a recommendation, or an action item to actually approve the recommendation as it stands from Mike?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kovic,
Yes.
Light, Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Boletta,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 8, communications, 8.01, it's our annual AI plan review and updates.
So I provided to you in the agenda and for the public what the district's AI plan is. This was developed with a team of administrators, teachers, and myself 2 school years ago, and we adopted it last year. Again, it is an annual review process by board policy and now state law has come into this plan. So I just wanted to highlight, we've not made any changes, but just for the benefit of everyone who's new to the board or who didn't know that we had this plan, what our outlook is on AI. AI is here, it's not going anywhere, it's been around for a long time. When we've asked Siri for the last 10 years a question, we were using AI. We just didn't call it AI then. But AI is evolving and changing, and we have different kinds of AI. And probably the most concerning type of AI is generative AI, where people can create things. And while creating things is a good thing, sometimes that creation is not for good. And some of the dangers that puts our kids in, some of the dangers that it puts our staff in when it is used for illicit purposes. Our goal with AI is to provide education and proper use guidance, not to restrict. Again, I liken this to when the calculator hit the scene as a common school tool. Back in the day, I won't guess what year it is because I'll get it wrong and then people will mock me for that. But it is here, it's going to change how we live our lives, it's going to evolutionize the workforce and so many more. So what we want to do is make sure that our teachers are aware of how to use it and how to use it well in their classrooms. They're aware of how students could potentially use it for good, for learning, and potentially use it in situations where they might cheat or do something that they shouldn't with it. How to spot that and how to respond to that. So our goal isn't to be punitive, but to be educational in this process. It is on our docket for the first week of school for every teacher to have a conversation with their classroom, regardless of the level, because we know that even elementary school students are using AI, but what does that look like? To announce when assignments are being made, what is the acceptable, allowable uses of AI for that assignment? Some assignments may be no AI of any kind. Some may be that you are allowed to use something like Grammarly to do a spelling and grammar check. Some of it may be that you can use AI in its generative form to give you ideas, to think about something to write about, because you might need more brainstorming help or something like that. And then the last level, which would be most likely not permitted, is to just completely generate an assignment. And talking to kids about what that looks like, the tools that we have to spot check that, the consequences of whether or not, if that's found to happen, what the consequences would be. When the team met, we had a large conversation about AI policy per se in our policies, and we landed on that we did not need to add policies because the negative uses of AI are actually covered in other policies. So we have policies regarding cheating, dishonesty, integrity, and so really just using the policies that we already have if we found it was necessary to address a misuse of AI. And so that plan is there. As I said, we made no corrections to the plan. Right now, it kind of goes through the definition, what our goal, and everything that I've described. So I just am asking for an approval of that plan as part of our compliance.
Questions, thoughts? Get a motion to approve the AI plan.
I so move.
I second.
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Colvick?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Moving on to item 8.02, the superintendent's update.
Me again. Alright, I'm gonna let her start that. Okay, so every 6 months, I bring an overview presentation to the board, and it just happens that it is time for my fall 2025 overview, even though it's summer, but we're gonna say fall for the beginning of the school year. So tonight I want to talk to you about our strategic plan, updates to our strategic plan, some of our 5 essentials data, our discipline data, and then some of the work that I do as the superintendent. So the strategic plan was developed in the 22-23 school year with a team of community members and staff members, and our 6 goals were developed. From that, we developed 55 strategies, which have 185 action and sub-action steps as part of our plan. And so we just completed our 2nd year working under that plan, and for each goal, you can see up there, goal 1 has 9 strategies and then 29 action and sub-action steps. So as we look at our progress towards that, we have fully completed 8 strategies. We are currently working on 36 of them, and we have 11 that are still pending. Some of them are reliant on us completing some of our first strategies to be able to get to the 2nd strategy. So we are 14.5% complete of the strategies outlined in that plan, and then with our working on it, we're much farther with that, but just some progress as to what we're doing there. With our action steps, so remember there were 185 action steps and sub-steps, but there are 87 actual strategies with sub-strategies under them. We've completed 30 of our strategies. We're working on 35. Upon review of things that were written 3 years ago, 2 of them we've decided are not things that are no longer applicable. One example of that would be hashtag campaigns as part of our communication. That is not the latest trend in communication anymore, is developing those hashtag campaigns, and so that was one example of the 2 that we put on hold, and at the moment I can't remember the other one. And then there are 20 that we have not started yet. So looking at the things that we've completed, the things that were in progress, we sat down and we looked at what are our critical focuses under our strategic plan for the coming school year, and depending on the department and the goal, they are to improve our onboarding of our employees, to improve student feedback, and that includes our grading practices, improving professional development and staff supports, creating student rostering on our buses so that we know who's on the bus, like a check-in, check-out system on our buses so we know where kids are at all times, creating a transportation handbook, developing our bus purchasing rotation schedule, creating our new district website, identifying a one communication tool to be used by all. So instead of this coach using this platform and this teacher using this one, and if you have multiple kids, you could be on 12 different platforms, really identifying how we streamline that for our families, exploring funding options for the district, specifically towards meeting our facilities needs, and then the cleanliness of our facilities. So those will be our target areas this year as we're moving forward in our continual progress towards meeting the strategic plan. Our strategic plan is a living document, so it's not static. As we finished some things, we've also added things along with that, and we're continuously documenting that. And then I house our progress in the Monday.com platform to keep track of where we are with each item and can communicate with our directors about how many strategies, action steps they have, what progress they have towards completion of their part of the plan.
Is the website aspect redesign that, is that done in-house or do we contract for that?
So Danny is in charge of our website. We currently have Wix as our platform, and Wix is great because Wix was pretty much free. But Wix is not conducive to good development of a communication tool. So every one of our pages is built independently, so like our
Every
menu-
link has to be manually edited one by one.
So the menu page for all 6 schools is an independent activity. The school calendar, even though it's the same calendar and it's linked to the district page and all 6 schools, is a 7 independent process. So he has been exploring vendors, and we are moving towards Aptigee as our
Aptigee ThrillShare, yes.
yeah, as our vendor, and they will help us in our initial build, and then Danny will be responsible for the upkeep of it once we do the build up.
Yep. I've actually already had meetings with them where we already have a prototype in the works and really like how it's coming along.
So if you would like to see what their product looks like, look at every other school district in Illinois. They all use Apogee, and it is simpler, it's cleaner, it's easier to find things,
But we can customize it to, you know, whichever features we want, so.
and it will also stop the links to PDFs. I can't, so under Wix, everything's linked to PDFs. Well, when we find a mistake on the school calendar and someone's bookmarked the old PDF, and then they bring it up, they're not seeing the latest version of something. They've cached it and it's there, and then we're having some miscommunication issues because old things are still accessible. So, questions, because I'm gonna move on to 5 essentials data from that point. Okay, our 5 essentials data. The 5 essentials survey is provided to all students, teachers and paraprofessionals, and offered to all parents annually in the spring. And then we get back our data, which helps guide our strategic planning. It tells us where we have things that we've improved upon by perception of those groups, where we have things that maybe the perception has lessened and we might want to focus on that area. I really enjoy the 5 essentials data as a planning tool towards school improvement. However, the state recalibrated the data points, and so they changed how they grade the survey, and they gave us a new data set this year, and they only changed last year's data. So I can no longer use data past last year as any form of comparison. All I can do is get this year's data compared to last year's data, but last year's data wasn't the data we used to operate by because it had different numbers attached to that. So we're kind of starting fresh as to figuring out what this last year's survey's priorities shared with us. And unfortunately, I'm not able to really share much about the change. I did the calculations, but what they told us is that they basically widened the bell curve so more things fell to neutral, is the explanation that we've been provided. So while in the past we've had very strongs, neutrals, some weaks and very weaks, this year we have 4 strong items and 33 neutral items. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm gonna go through our data with my grain of salt and just kind of share what we've learned. So our highest performing measures was expectations for post-secondary education, student-teacher trust, and human and social resources in the community. All through, the expectations for post-secondary was a rating from teachers. The bottom 2 were ratings from students. It is on a scale of 100, and you can see then what our score was and what the possible change factor was from the year before. So these are 3 of our 4 strong areas were our highest performing areas.
It says the post-secondary education, I know this is on Joe
Yeah.
before, do we measure like expectations for not necessarily post-secondary education, but the workforce and like trades in part of
Yeah.
this?
Not that particular question didn't, because the
But
subset of
we
questions,
look at
but
it.
yes, we do. So there's other actual, well, I'm so glad you said that, 'cause
Try next.
wait for it.
Okay.
Our lowest performing measures, which I find interesting, were English instruction, the importance of high school for the future, as reported by students, and socialization of new teachers, as reported by teachers. So we have this kind of juxtaposition of some of our things that are, and the ratings that come out depending on which group gave them. So our students don't see the value of high school for their future, but our parents see the value of post-secondary education. So, and that makes sense, 'cause
So what was the category of socialization of new teachers? What does that mean?
it's about, if you look at this up, there's about, for each one of these, there's 5 to 6 sub-questions that generated this, and that's talking about onboarding, mentoring, our new staff members. So, but the change there was a +1. So while it is one of our lowest performing, it had growth. So something to keep in mind there too. Our most improved measures from last year's survey were teacher influence, quality of professional development, and program coherence. So how well we run what goes on inside the schools, all reported by teachers, and then you can see those positive 5s for all of those. falling in neutral. Our most declined measures were academic press, academic personalization, and academic engagement, all reported by students. So when we look at this, I use the 10 as a significant change. Thinking on a scale of 100, it's a letter grade, it's one step down. So we only had one measure, positive or negative, that reached a change level of 10, and it was academic press. So these are the questions that were asked of students in the academic press section, and the ones highlighted in red is where we saw the significant decline in the responses from the year before. So the teacher expects me to do my best all the time, the teacher expects everyone to work hard, this class really makes me think, the teacher asks difficult questions on tests, I really learn a lot in this class, the teacher wants us to become better thinkers, not just memorize things. Those were neutral answers. Where we saw the decline was, this class challenges me, the teacher asks difficult questions in class, and this class requires me to work hard to do them.
So you're
So-
saying in the red that the class challenging, that's mean it's
They're
too
saying-
challenging, or it's
no,
not challenging enough?
They reported that was not true.
Okay,
Okay.
gotcha.
So, again, so then, this is the district picture, we then take this data and break it down by building. Obviously, a building like the high school with the number of kids that it has compared to perhaps an elementary can really sway this, so we then look closer and drill down and figure out where really we see this reporting. And then we work this into our process with our principals of going over their data and looking at strategic improvement within their building based on some of this information. Questions about the 5 essentials data? Okay, we'll move on to discipline data. This part I have to legally provide you by law each year. And so I gather the information, and then the student success committee will dive into this data in more depth and detail as part of their agenda for their committee work. So last year, we had 16 verified incidences of bullying. That might seem low, however, I will say this has been a huge focus of ours. And with all of our social emotional learning supports that we've been putting in, and how we are responding to reports, working with administration about how we're addressing those things, I would say that our work is paying off because our number is going down. OSS was 160, that is also down from the year before, and in-school suspension was 209. Understanding that in-school suspension only occurs at the middle school and high school. I think there's 3 intermediate suspensions, but they don't have staff assigned to an in-school suspension room, so they don't typically use that as a discipline measure. All of these numbers are down from the previous year. So our out-of-school suspensions, this is the rate per building. The fact that middle school and GIS are up is a trend that we see. That is where kids start to have more freedom, and also their brain isn't as developed, and so they don't always make great choices that lead to discipline. So you can see the rates across the district, and then we also must report suspensions that are our students who are placed in other facilities. So that's where you see Menta, Safe School, and SCLA. Our in-school detention, again, as I said, GIS had, I think, 3, and then you see that. Now, in-school detention, at perhaps, they're assigned that not just for what I would say a discipline measure, but perhaps for excessive tardies, for other issues that are going on sometimes as well. It's not just an action per se that happens at the school. And again, reporting for SCLA, Safe School, and Minton. Our founded bullying incidences, then there they are by building, so you can see those again. And then bullying by location, where are these things happening? We look at all of this data to try and pinpoint that. So is it online, in the hallway, outside, classroom, bus, library, those types of events. I will say that, again, because we're down across the board. It has come up before, why do we have so many in the classroom? And what I believe in looking at also the reports is because of the training that we do with our teachers, they spot it and they report it. And that is the controlled environment where you have a dedicated adult looking for that, where everywhere else, if someone happens to be around, they catch it, and so we catch more inside the classroom. So it's not that we have more of a problem in our classroom, but we have more observation going on inside our classroom. By aggressor, we have more males than females who are aggressors, and then the type of bullying, we also track what was the focus of the bullying? Was it I am making a comment about someone's disability, their gender, or was it non-classified? So non-classified just means I'm just being mean and gaining power, but I haven't defined my target of why I'm acting this way towards you. Questions about the discipline data before I go into the next section? Okay, so just an overview. I also provide this information every 6 months. Some of this is the annual, but part of my presentation. So one of my key focuses is making sure that I get out and visit our schools, and that I attend school activities. And so last year, I was present at 134 times at either school events or school activities. That was up 4 from the year before. The facilities projects that we were able to accomplish last year, because that has been our ongoing focus, is improving our facilities, was the renovation of this building was completed, replacing the CES playground, the GIS playground, the roof replacement at CES, the roof replacement at the high school, the track at the high school, and that press box replacement from the storm damage at the middle school, just as an overview of what happened. As another aspect of my position with the district is also my community involvement in ensuring that that the district is tied to the community is tied to us, and so I do that through my work around the community. So I sit on the Ball-Chatham Education Foundation Board, the Titan Fuel Board. I am a JC. I don't make it to a lot of meetings, but I love sweet corn. Our district is part of the LUDA organization, which is a large urban district association. I also am active in the Illinois Association of School Administrators. I sit on several ISB boards, so I am a direct tie to the State Board of Education, and then I'm also active in the National Association of School Superintendents. So, and I just sent you guys information about an article that I wrote for them. So all of those connections ensures that our district is then connected at the local, the state, and the national level, because I'm pretty passionate about our district and what we do, and so I would like everyone to know all of the great things that we do as well. I think that's the end of my presentation.
Does anybody have any questions? Moving on to item 8.03, future board meeting dates. We have our upcoming dates that are there for policy, student success, facilities, grounds, finance, and our regular board meeting that will be on August 27th. So that's just for informational purposes. And section 8.04, this is our citizens' opportunity or visitors to address the school board concerning any agenda or any topic. Jocelyn or Troy, would you like to go first?
Yep.
All right.
I'll start.
And just so we let you know before we start, what we typically do is we allow you to have open floor time, 5 minutes to just address us, talk to us in any form or fashion. It won't be a discussion or a dialogue. We're just gonna listen to what you have to say. So.
Listen closely because I'm gonna have to talk really fast.
That's okay. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Piper. Oakland Piper is behind me. She is going to be a 3rd grade student at Chatham Elementary. She absolutely loves being around her peers at school. But maybe more so than her loving school is the importance of the learning environment that her presence promotes for all of our students. Because Oakland is included in the daily routine and classroom, our students have only seen her as one of them. They treat her with care and respect, and the lifelong lessons of how to interact with people with different abilities is being built. We are so grateful for Chatham Elementary and all the love that they have shown for Oakland. Oakland requires a one-on-one nurse. She is covered under the state waiver program that provides access to additional care for children who are technology dependent. For Oakland, technology is that she is on oxygen 24/7, requires skilled deep suctioning, is J-tube fed, and requires 24/7 monitoring. One of the great benefits of the waiver program is the nursing coverage. Oakland is allotted a certain amount of nursing hours paid by the state every week. Because we need an income, those nursing hours allow us to work while a nurse helps one of us trained caregivers care for Oakland. She does require 2 trained caregivers at all times. I will say that no one here is denying that Oakland needs a one-on-one nurse, and we're really grateful for that. But this is where the district goes a little rogue. There is actually no policy on nursing and one-on-one nursing. They uneducatedly concluded that they have to hire their own one-on-one nurse for Oakland. Why does this matter? As I stated, we need income. We need to have 2 incomes. However, due to the district's refusal to work with our agency and Oakland's one-on-one home nurse, one of us has no longer been able to work during the school year. That actually, ironically, turned into putting the school district in a bind last year for school bus drivers. This also leaves Oakland without a nurse from 2 to 4 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and 1 to 4 on Wednesdays. No nurse on SIP days, no nurse on holidays or breaks, or when school is called off. The agencies wouldn't even consider trying to staff hours like this, so last school year we had to go without a home nurse, which meant that we have lost our contract with the original agency we were working with, and the district paid for a nurse that they hired instead when our home nurse would have been free to the district. The district hired a nurse and intends to hire a nurse again this year. And we have not been involved in the process, nor is anyone who is skilled and educated to hire a nurse for Oakland has been a part of that process. Last year, this led to Oakland being the most sick that she has ever been, being hospitalized more in 3 months than she had been in 3 years. We attribute this to the unskilled nursing that was provided to Oakland at school. Once Oakland was able to return to school, the nurse that you guys hired was injured and no longer able to work. This made Oakland homebound for another month and then some, as the school district was unable to staff a one-on-one nurse in order for Oakland to attend. Because of this, the district had to resort to hiring an agency and paying that agency a staff nurse for Oakland. Did you catch that? You guys didn't let us have an agency nurse, but you hired an agency to do that. Ours would have been free. The next issue that a district hired nurse presents is not allowing the same access to after-school activities and care as general education students are given. Yes, the school is not responsible for providing after-school care, but they are required to provide access to. Oakland's after-school care would be a nurse. She is denied access to that after-school care when the district wants to hire their own nurse, one that does not do anything outside of school hours. As I stated before, it was not an option for us to try to find nursing for the after-school hours because nurses are looking for full-time, and the agencies would not recruit for those hours. Because of the district's stance on one-on-one nursing, we have no other option than to homebound Oakland for this coming school year, so that Oakland has the appropriate care that she needs to be healthy. But this comes at the cost of missing out on socialization and the cost of the district's other students missing the amazing opportunity to learn how to interact with people with different abilities. With all that said, I was just explaining why Oakland is being denied a free and appropriate public education by Ball-Chatham School District. It is our family income. A one-on-one nurse would be able to provide that additional income. Then the nurse provided by the school district was not able to be appropriately hired, skilled, nor trained. They were not trained by us. Therefore, making her education as nursing as part of her IEP, not an appropriate education. We are urging.
Okay, you can wrap up your thought,
Okay,
yes,
thank
yes.
you, thank you. Our stance is that Oakland is not your first student and she will not be your last student that has these needs. We are here to stand up for those families who might not be able to speak up for themselves in the future, and we urge you to create and uphold a policy on one-on-one nursing for the students who have access to home nursing through the state waiver program, and allow, in collaboration with home care agencies, the skilled and trained home nurses for these students to attend school with them, in order for families to maintain access to nursing, FAPE, and LRE. Thank you.
Everyone good to go?
Yeah.
I'm Troy, the husband and father of our last speaker, and we brought 3 kids into our home. Well, at this time, Oakland and her brother Francis, who goes to the high school, and a little 5-year-old that we're fostering, who, as of now, is going to go to Ball in the fall. And we think that this district is the single best place they can be. And we wouldn't be here at all if we didn't want her at school. Ironically, 2 school years ago, I was the special needs school bus driver, and I basically got fired from half of my job because without a nurse at home, I couldn't drive my daughter home and drop her off to no one, and I wasn't allowed to keep her on the bus. So I stopped being a bus driver so I could transport her home every day and be there. So I just retired from Rochester, where I've taught for years, and love that district. I want my kids here. And you know, I'm reading in social media today about the financial needs that your district has, and it's not, it's pennies on what you're looking at, but we have a nurse for our home that can come to school with her, and it won't cost your district a dime. So it looks to me like this is a win-win-win, except for someone doesn't want that nurse in the school. But last year you had to hire an agency nurse, which is the same thing. And they do the same fingerprints and background checks, so it seems like this could be something we could just work together and resolve this very easily. And like I said, we want our daughter at school. And when she's homebound, I'm homebound, and I'm an unofficial skilled caregiver, and so without that agency nurse that's with her when there's not school, we are the people that are with her all the time, and we love her, and we want what's best for her, but when school hires that nurse as a one-on-one nurse for her, then all the time she's at home, she does not have that nurse. So it's very limiting for us. So would really like to advocate for her and every other kid like her going forward, that the district makes some type of policy about accepting the state paid agencies one-on-one nurse with your special students, that you will make homebound if they don't have a special one-on-one nurse. And you know, we're getting pretty close to the beginning of the school year, and if there's not a one-on-one nurse for her, she will ironically be homebound to start the school year this year. And that process hasn't gone very swiftly in the past. So that's all the time I want. I just want the board to recognize the need for some type of policy with one-on-one nurses, and be accepting to those state funds that are there to pay those nurses, that takes it off of you. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think we have anybody else here, so moving on to section. Oh, sorry, bud. Yep.
I'm gonna take off my district employee hat and put on my Chatham JC hat.
Yeah.
So I'm with Shane Hill, we're the chairs of the Superman Festival, and I want to thank the school district personally for supporting this. And I can say unequivocally that the event would not go real successful without your support. So thank you.
He threw me off. You know, he was a district employee.
I'm not technically, it wasn't supposed to be.
Moving on to section 9.01 is adjournment of the regular meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to pull up.
Second, Lisa, one bite,
Pauletta,
Yes.
Coburn, Colvick.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.